Hello everyone, you are in the Install Knitting Studio. In this lesson, I want to tell you what elongation is and what short rows are. I will explain how to make calculations and create an algorithm for knitting elongation. I will also demonstrate how to knit such an elongation and how to wrap the stitches at the edges. In general, I will share and show all the details, so stay tuned. Here, you can clearly see that each new row is slightly longer than the previous one. This is what short rows are. That is, as we knit each new row, we add a few stitches to the center of the row on both sides. Here we are knitting with turning rows. This is how elongation is knitted out. I turned the knitting to make it clearer. This back part, the stockinette stitch, is the elongation. This elongation is for my future jumper. So initially we knit the ribbing, then we knit the elongation on the back, and then connect it to the front. Here is my front, and we start knitting the jumper in the round. Let me show you how to knit this elongation. Let's start with calculations. Please ignore this sheet. These are my previous calculations and everything related to elongation is on this page. So, to start, what do? We decide how tall the elongation will be. I want my back to be 9 centimeters longer than the front. So I take these 9 centimeters. I multiply by the number of rows in 1 centimeter. Earlier, we calculated that I have 2.8 rows in 1 centimeter. So 9 centimeters multiplied by 2.8 equals approximately 26 rows. I actually had a little less, but I rounded it to an even number. This number must definitely be even. After that, I drew a schematic of our knitting. This is the front part of the knitting, meaning we knit in the round, and this is the back. I have 206 stitches, let's say. I write inside 206. Now, I take the total number of stitches and divide by 2. That is, for the front and the back, 103 stitches. I write 103 stitches here, and 103 stitches there. After that, I will divide the back into 3 equal parts. 103 stitches dividing the back by 3. It does not divide evenly for me. It results in 34, 34, 35. I do not like this. I want there to be the same numbers here. Therefore, I redraw the diagram for convenience. I write inside the total number of stitches. I divide the back into equal parts. That is, I take 34 stitches here. 34 multiplied by 3 gives me 102 stitches for the back. Next, I subtract the back from the total number of stitches. 104 stitches I assign to the front part. After that, I set the back aside. I redrew to deal with it. That is, we will now be knitting the back. Initially, we knit the ribbing. If we knit from the bottom up, we have knitted the necessary width of ribbing. Next, we transition to knitting the fabric. But we need to knit an elongated back. Let's say this will be our starting point for knitting the back. That is, we are now knitting only the back. Leaving the front part alone, we knit the back in rows. We knit in one direction, turn around, and knit in the other direction. As we knit, with each row we add a few stitches. That is, we knit a few stitches more. For example, this is the beginning of the knitting. We knit in this direction. We knitted this part to the middle and knitted a couple of stitches from this part. We turned the knitting. We knit again this middle part and knitted several stitches from the opposite side of this. We turned again and added a few stitches here. We knitted, turned, knitted, and here we knitted a couple of extra stitches. This is how we knit, turning the fabric with either knit or purl rows. If you want to knit stockinette stitch, we knit until we nearly reach these checkpoint points. That is, to the side points, until we slowly knit all these stitches of these parts. This concerns the principle of knitting short rows. Therefore, right now, what we do is take 102 stitches off the back. This middle part gives us 68 stitches, meaning 68 stitches include this part plus this one. We divide 68 into two parts, resulting in 34 stitches each. Just like we calculated, yes, we noted this down. We figured out the stitches. Now let's deal with the rows. We calculated that to achieve an extension of the back of about 9 centimeters, we need to knit 26 rows. Therefore, as I mentioned regarding the principle of knitting short rows, we will constantly knit this middle part, yes, while gradually taking a few stitches here. Hence here, where we have the middle part of the back, we will knit as many as 26 rows. So, we do not count the middle part in our calculations. Now we will calculate how many rows we will knit here, and the number of rows will indeed be equal. Since the parts are also identical, we take the total number of rows divided by 2 parts, excluding the middle part. This results in 13 rows. I note this down, meaning as I knit, I will knit 13 rows here and 13 rows there, catching a total of 34 stitches, knitting here and there, and there. Next, we will examine one of the parts. Let's take this one. We take 34 stitches, divide by 13, and get such a number, 2.6 stitches. This is our step count. This is the number of stitches we will knit with each new row. Suppose we knitted our first row. We knit here, we knitted this part and caught 2 stitches here, turned. Knitted the middle part again, and here we caught 3 stitches, turned, we knitted 2 stitches more, then 3 stitches. Why sometimes 2, sometimes 3 stitches? Because here we have a non-integer number. If, for example, there were 2 here, then we would constantly knit 2 more stitches with each new row. But we have here 2 whole 6/10, so I need to alternate, knitting either 2 or 3 more stitches. How can I know exactly how many more stitches to knit when? So, I take 1 row, hypothetically. I count. In 1 row, I knit and add 2 stitches here. Here we write, in 1 row I knit 2 stitches. In the next row, I knit 3 stitches. So, I wrote that down here. I added these 2 brackets of mine, yes, and I need to alternate. But how many times, I don't know yet. Meaning I don't have that 6 for now. Now, let's just calculate what we have here. We knitted 2 rows, hypothetically, 1 plus 1, totaling 2 rows. First, I grabbed 2 stitches, knitted them, then 3 stitches. 2 plus 3 makes 5. Meaning that having knitted 2 rows, I will knit 5 stitches. We're counting this as one part. Well, then you understand. In general, we counted the total number of rows and stitches. Those big brackets of ours, I took them in such square brackets. After that, what do? I take 13 rows and divide it by the 2 rows I got here. It turns out 6 whole 5/10 rows. Next, I take 34 stitches and divide by the 5 stitches that I ended up with here. I got 6 whole 8/10 stitches, and I have a 6 here and there. So, I will definitely have 6 repetitions if I alternate these knittings. Therefore, I write this whole number 6 right here, 6 repetitions. Now let's calculate what we have in the end. What we counted in the big brackets is already 2 rows or 5 stitches. Now I take 2 rows, multiply by 6. It results in 12 rows. 5 stitches multiplied by 6 equals 30 stitches. Thus, having repeated these big brackets 6 times, I will have knitted 12 rows or 30 stitches. But I need to knit 13 rows and 34 stitches. A little bit is missing. Therefore, now I take 13 rows, subtract 12 rows, which results in 1 row. and 60 stitches, plus these 8 results in 68 stitches, all correct. Here are 68 stitches. These are stitches from 2 parts. After this, we need to place the markers correctly, and do not touch the front yet. We will knit the back with short rows. That is, from my yarn here stands a marker, but it is not really needed. As here, the beginning of the knitting is shown by the yarn. Here is my beginning of the knitting. Here it is. Next, I count 34 stitches. I place a side marker. After this, I have the front part. To make it clearer, it needs to be turned. Here is the marker placed. Counted 34 stitches. Next comes the front part, 104 stitches. Here are 2 parts of 34 stitches each. The beginning is right here. Here is one part, 34 stitches, here it is. And the second part, 34 stitches. And the third part is right here. We now need to knit it, distributing the markers in this way. Now we will knit out our pattern. According to the pattern, the first row adds 4 stitches. I need to knit 2 rows, adding 4 stitches each. I will not knit the first row in the round, but right from the beginning of my knitting, I will add 4 stitches. Since this is the right side, we will knit all the stitches. Knit in a knit stitch through the front loop, 1, 2, 3. The 4th stitch we do not knit. Instead, we will wrap it with the working yarn. Since this is the right side, we will slip it as a knit stitch. And the working yarn is behind the work. We remember this. On the front side, the working yarn is behind the work. We take it off as a knit. Insert it into the right needle through the front loop. Next, we place the working yarn in front of the work, and we return this stitch straight onto the left needle. The working yarn is here. After this, we turn the knit work clockwise. We've turned the knit work, now we knit in the opposite direction. Here is our stitch that we wrapped. We do not knit it, but simply start knitting purl stitches. Since we need to get stockinette stitch in the end, and this is our purl side, we will knit purl stitches here. So we start knitting the second row. After we have turned the knit work, the next row begins. And I need to knit this second row as well, adding 4 stitches from the back side. This means we knit this row with purl stitches through the front loop. By the way, this marker can already be removed. We do not need it, and we continue knitting purl stitches until the next marker. I knitted 37 purl stitches plus this stitch we wrapped, 38, well that's correct. So we added 4 stitches. Originally, there were 34, and we added 4 stitches. 38 stitches including the stitch we wrapped. We have reached the marker, we remove it too. Next we will navigate by the stitch that we will be wrapping. And after we remove the marker, we need to knit 4 more stitches. Add 1. Add 2. Add 3. We do not knit the 4th stitch. We will wrap it. Since this is a purl row, this time the yarn is already behind the work in purl rows. We take this 4th stitch off as a purl, as if we want to knit a purl stitch. We have transferred it to the right needle. The working yarn goes behind the work, and we return it to the left needle, that's all. If our purl row ends and a knit one begins, we are turning our fabric counterclockwise. We have turned it. Thread for work, and let's start knitting the front row. We knitted our first bracket twice. We knitted 2 rows adding 4 stitches each time. Next, we move on to the larger brackets. Our first repetition is to add 3 stitches. We repeat it twice. 2 rows of 3 stitches. So, after we turn the knitting, our next row begins. This means we knit it with front stitches, as this is the front side. Here, we already knit the front stitches through the back loop. Since we have started turning knitting, I knitted 40 front stitches plus the stitch we wrap. Next, I knitted up to this stitch that we wrapped last time. How do we find it? It differs from all the others. Firstly, it is set quite a distance from the others, and there is a little bridge here. That means it is immediately visible. If this is our front row, we should knit it front. We take the right needle under this thread, which we wrapped is this one. We move the front one, which is closer to us, onto the left needle. We place it. It results in kind of 2 stitches on the left needle, and we knit them together. Through the back loop as a front stitch. This is how we knit this stitch, if it's the front row. After we reach and knit the stitch we wrapped last time, we need to add 3 more stitches, as we saw in the pattern. Next, these 3 stitches come from the circular knitting, so we knit through the front loop. 1, 2. We do not knit the 3rd stitch, but wrap it. It is the front row, and the working yarn is behind. We slip it as a front stitch through the front loop. Move the yarn forward and return it like this to the left needle. We turn the knitting. Move on to the next row. This stitch that we wrapped, we never touch after we turn the knitting. It simply stays here. Next, we knit purl stitches to the next stitch on the opposite side that we wrapped. I knitted 43 purl stitches and plus 1 stitch that we wrapped here. 44 stitches, and we have reached this stitch that we also wrapped. How will we knit it? We need to knit it purlwise since we are on a purl row. In this case, we take the stitch that is further from us with the right needle and place it on the left needle. Placed yarn in front, and we knit these 2 stitches on the left needle together, purlwise, through the front loop. We knitted it purlwise, and if we turn it around it looks quite good on the front side. After we have knitted this stitch, we need to add 3 more stitches. 1, 2, 2 purls. We wrap the 3rd one. If, on the purl row, we place the working yarn in front and slip this stitch as a purl. Just like when knitting a purl stitch, we slipped. Next, the yarn goes behind. We return this stitch to the left needle. Now we turn the knitting counterclockwise. We turned it. Next, we need to knit with knit stitches. We place the yarn behind the work. We knit, knitwise. We leave this one alone. As always, what are we going to knit? It turns out, we have knitted these brackets. We repeated it twice. That is, we have knitted 2 rows. Next, we need to repeat these brackets twice, meaning adding 2 stitches. Here's the first row. We knit knitwise through the back loop. 46, knit stitches knitted, plus the stitch we wrapped, 47. Next, we have reached our stitch, which we also wrapped. We need to knit it now knitwise since we are on a knit row. If we are on a knit row, it means the working yarn is behind. We take the right needle and pick up this front half stitch, this little thread that is closer to us. We place it on the left needle. Next, we knit these 2 stitches on the left needle together knitwise through the back loop. After we have knitted it, we need to add 2 more stitches. Here we are already in circular knitting. That is, here we knit through the front loop knitwise, 1 stitch. The second stitch we slip as a knit, yarn behind the work. We knit through the front wall. Place the yarn in front of the work and return this loop to the left needle, that's all. After that, we turn the knitting clockwise. Since we are transitioning from the front row to the back row, we have turned it. Next, we knit the back stitches, yarn in front of the work. We do not touch this stitch. We simply start knitting the back stitches through the front wall, 48 back stitches plus 1 stitch that we wrapped. We reach the next stitch that we wrap. If we need to knit back stitches, then we place the yarn in front of the work and slip this stitch, which is further from us, onto the left needle and knit both of these stitches on the left needle together. Back stitches through the front wall. After we have knitted this stitch, we need to add 2 more stitches, so we knit 1 back stitch, the second we wrap. If we are wrapping a back stitch, we place the yarn in front of the work and slip the back stitch. Since we are knitting a back stitch, we pulled the yarn behind the work and returned it to the left needle. That's all. If our back row ends and the front begins, we turn our fabric counterclockwise. This way, we turn the yarn behind the work and start knitting the front stitches. Row, we have knitted our brackets twice. Now we begin knitting these again. Brackets, meaning we are starting our second repetition out of 6. We still need to knit 5 repetitions, alternating adding 3 or 2 stitches here. In the end, we should have knitted 26 rows. To check if we have knitted everything correctly, we count the rows, and we should ultimately reach our side markers, where our second side cat is. So I think you got the meaning. If we need to wrap a front stitch, then the working yarn is behind the work, and we slip it as a front stitch. If we need to wrap a back stitch, the working yarn is in front of the work, and we slip it as a back stitch. If we need to knit the stitch we wrapped as a front stitch, we lift the front yarn and place it on the left needle. We knit those 2 stitches as a front stitch. If we need to knit the stitch we wrapped as a back stitch, then we take the yarn that is further away and place it on the left needle. We knit those 2 stitches on the left needle together as a back stitch. If we are transitioning from the front row to the back, we turn the fabric clockwise. If from the back row to the front, then counterclockwise. Just by remembering these moments, we will easily connect the extension. That's it, let's finish our pattern. Here's where I stopped. I made the wrap on the last stitch. Here is my side stitch, my marker. That means I reached the side part, wrapped the last stitch. Next, I will be working on the right side row. This is what the extension looks like. On this side, there is also the last wrapped stitch. Now, I will knit in the front stitches until the beginning of my row. Here it is, where I have this tail. I will count from this point and begin to knit the front rows. Next, we simply knit our piece in the round. That means we have finished our extension. It should be the necessary height. Mine is about 9 centimeters, but you can choose any other number and calculate your algorithm based on that principle. I hope everything was clear to you and you will succeed. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments. I will be happy to answer you. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Bye bye.